I'm Tashima Jones. I genuinely believe personal development and intention unlock the door to the abundant life we already have. I am so grateful your journey has led you all the way here. Let's keep moving forward together. Welcome to LifeClub with me, Tashima Jones. Welcome. Super excited you are tuning in to LifeClub with me, Tashima Jones. Today we are focusing on patterns, including behavioral patterns and thought loops we may find ourselves in. The more aware we are of who we are and what we do, the better we are able to function both on the inside and in the outer world we live in. The goal of this episode is to highlight and increase the patterns that support us while identifying the ones that don't in order to eliminate them. For our brief disclaimer, this content is not intended to be a substitute for professional advice, diagnosis, or treatment. As always, when we know the definition of a thing, we are better equipped to using it properly. Up first, you probably guessed, is pattern. A pattern is an outline, model, or original proposed for imitation. It is a design to be repeated or replicated. Schema. A schema is a pattern or system of thinking that organizes, interprets, and lays a foundation of information. It's like a building block of how information is received, perceived, and then used in the future. For example, a child may grow up in a two-parent home and stable family structure. The information collected from their home experience leads to them expecting all families to display the same love and affection. They may even expect to establish this same environment in their personal life. Next, we have think. To think is to say to oneself. Thoughts are part of the process of thinking. If thinking is to say, then thoughts are the words being spoken. Thoughts consist of single words, ideas, assumptions, opinions, responses, and perceived outcomes. They even come in the forms of arguments against wisdom. Thoughts have direct access to emotions. Now we have mindset or system of thinking. Mindset is a system of thinking linked to a specific tone, mood, and outcome. If you pay attention to the majority of your thoughts, you may find a common theme. Some have a winner's mindset, while others think like an underdog. Like a thermometer regulates the temperature in a room, mindset regulates the temperature of your thinking. It manages what thoughts you accept and carry out in your day-to-day life. Mindset is the system that impacts behavior, including what is said and what is done. It also influences the emotions. It is based on schemas produced by physical and non-physical experiences. While the brain is used to express what we think, the mind is the nature of how we think. Lastly, we have behavior. Behavior is the way in which a person conducts themselves in response to an internal, physiological, or external stimulus. For example, if your stomach growls, then you eat. The list goes on of our mental, physical, and emotional responses, making responses very vital. Response is what materializes results. In a nutshell, behavior gives shape to thoughts. Patterns, or what some may refer to as cycles, show up in our everyday lives. On a most basic level, some have the pattern of eating 3 meals a day. There are others who may have the pattern of attending college, practicing a specific religion, and celebrating certain holidays. The patterns we are discussing are internal patterns of thought and belief. These are truly the intangible patterns that drive the ones we see in our behavior. Many are unaware of the reason why they do what they do. Some may wrestle with certain habits and find it difficult to find the root causes. Do you find yourself dating the same person with a different name? Are you prone to starting a project and not finishing it? Oftentimes, the challenge is linked to a subconscious pattern, mindset, or system of thinking. Similar to when one finds themselves driving along a familiar route and not remembering the ride to their destination, people subconsciously go throughout life making the same choices over and over again. And while this may be beneficial in some cases, it may be a liability in others. Because a thought pattern is so deeply ingrained, it can go undetected and become second nature, creating, once again, what we call mindset. Let's talk a bit about where patterns may come from. 3 external origins are family, peer group, and culture. Whether your story is found in being raised in a single-parent home or a large family, patterns are weaved throughout each unit. Even as young as elementary school, peers can have a strong influence on the patterns you adopt. Corporate culture or societal norms also have a way of wedging in on how your thought patterns take shape. 3 internal origins include logic, wisdom, and argument. Oftentimes, wisdom has no explanation. It is rooted in a truth that just, quote unquote, feels right. Logic, on the other hand, is deemed as good, bad, or positive and negative, and is based on the pattern of the natural experiences we have. For example, a person may learn from experience that touching a hot stove is negative. A schema is then born that touching hot objects yield a negative outcome. This is then used in their daily life. Now, wisdom is similar to knowing something without experiencing it, or having no point of external reference. It is more of a sensing or prompting from within. There are other forms of internal origins that resemble arguments against wisdom, oftentimes referred to as temptation. Wisdom is more like a person sharing insight, while logic is more like a math problem that has no life or inspiration in it. Now we're going to focus on how patterns become mindset. If you do something long enough, it becomes a habit. The same is true about thoughts and thinking. The more exposed you are to an experience or idea, the more you believe them to be true, even if it's based on fallacy. And when one believes a thing, agreement is made. This is why exposure is vital. If your current mindset is beneficial, continue to put it to practice. If there are areas for improvement, begin to expose yourself to what's helpful. And you may not even know what's helpful, but knowing that improvement is necessary is a leap towards change. Now, exposure can be done through books, classes, therapy, and travel. Even meeting new people grants the opportunity for exposure. Meditation is also profitable in reshaping mindset. It's important to note that meditation is not the absence of thought, but the ability to focus on a thought long enough in order for it to become reality. I am going to repeat that. Meditation is not the absence of thought, but the ability to focus on a thought long enough for it to become reality. So, with that being said, choosing what I like to call an anchoring thought to meditate on helps to strengthen that thought and add it to your mindset. A method to discovering whether or not your mindset is beneficial is to check the outcomes of your thinking. This takes place internally by examining what emotions your mindset produces and questioning whether or not your mindset promotes healthy thoughts. It also takes place externally by considering what actions your thinking produces. And eventually, it takes place environmentally. What type of impact does your mindset have on the environment, including your life and physical body, the people in your life, and the material world? Now, you may find that different patterns apply to different subsystems of thinking. For example, you may have a sub-pattern for how you do relationships. Then there may be another sub-pattern for how you parent or how you work, how you are with your friends. Then there are dominant patterns that influence those sub-patterns. Here are a few that may sound familiar. There is the everything is going to be okay pattern. This is the person that no matter what they're faced with, they truly believe that everything is working out for their good. Then you may find the pattern of anxiety and sorrow. This may be the person who sees everything as chaotic and through the lens of defeat. No matter what's going on, there still may be a nervousness and a sense of disappointment looming in this person's atmosphere, even if it's not true. Again, that's why belief and finding the truth are so vital. Next, we have the pattern of indecisiveness and confusion. These people tend to never truly be able to make a decision and stand firm on it. Following that, we have the pattern of joy and enthusiasm. This is the person who a lot of people tend to enjoy being around, or those who have a pattern of anxiety and sorrow may despise being around this person for the same reason. The pattern of joy and enthusiasm finds the goodness in every situation and in every circumstance. They tend to live a life of inspiration and curiosity, expecting good to come through all things. As you explore your patterns of thought or mindset, you may find some other patterns that are assets or maybe some that are liabilities. The patterns or schemas we adopt are building blocks for mindset, and they yield the same tone, mood, and outcome of those very patterns and schemas. Remember, the goal is to discover the assets and liabilities found in the patterns we find ourselves living out on a daily basis. Remember, the goal is to discover the assets and liabilities found in the patterns or schemas we find ourselves living out on a daily basis. Here is your life work. Become an investigator of you. This is not to become critical of yourself or self-obsessed. It is for the goal of, again, discovering the assets and liabilities that make up the balance sheet of your mindset. Here are a few ways to do so. Start paying attention. Start to listen to your thoughts and take a moment to pause after you experience them. Take a deep breath and then begin to ask questions about the thoughts that were heard. Some questions to start with are, what is the origin of this thought? Is this thought profitable? How does this thought make me feel in my emotions and in my physical body? Do I desire to give this thought shape and form? It's important for us to recognize that we may experience and materialize what we think, but we are not our thoughts. Oftentimes, we may face challenging and intrusive thoughts and take them on as our identity. This is why it's important for us to consider the thoughts that we have versus automatically responding to them. Next, ask the question, what tone, mood, and outcome would I like for my mindset to produce? Going back to having an anchoring thought for the day helps us to reshape and remold how we think. As always, take notes by journaling the answers you discover along the way. As you discover thoughts, remember to celebrate. That's another way of exposing yourself to something you actually enjoy and appreciate. Don't be judgmental or critical about what you find. Really take it as an investigation in order to improve your system of thinking. A way to not take things personally is not to respond in your emotions. Be gentle with yourself. It's a journey. Alrighty, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of LifeClub with Tashima Jones. I am Tashima Jones. You could have been anywhere else in the world, but you are here with me, and for that, I am truly grateful. I actually mean that when I say it each and every episode. Be sure to subscribe to this podcast on whatever platform you are tuning in from, and feel free to share it with a friend. You can find me on YouTube for video content at Tashima Jones Media. And of course, I invite you to visit tashimajones.com for more information on life coaching sessions, books, articles, events, and how to join LifeClub. Until next time, remember your greatness. Talk soon. You've been listening to LifeClub with Tashima Jones. Thank you for tuning in.